course, handsome-looking faces coming from the Laos side, and can they come back here? They need to prove themselves. They need to at least take a point away from Axis Esports, because all the support, all the fans back in Laos are cheering them on, and they want to put on their best form. But Axis Esports here, after that first game against Burmese Gold, they of course were upset with that sort of performance. But when they fought Team Gosu, suddenly things have definitely turned for the better, and they have never really lost that form from that point onwards.
Yep, and I think, well, that's true. That's definitely true. But honestly, I don't really know what to say here, because Candy Comeback, I think they just need a little bit more experience. If they had more time, before the M1 to kind of scrim a lot of these other teams, I think they could have been an even better team than they are now. It's just you can't really tell where their ceiling is, and I think that's what's really great about these guys. And on top of the fact that they have a great positive mentality towards this, I mean, you have to commend them for that.
That's right, and we're seeing a couple of giggles and smiles as well. Maybe it's because they managed to secure that qualifier that they've been eyeing out for. But there's still one more pick left for Ton MVP to actually pick up, and that'll be Terizla. Well, we haven't seen Terizla in a while. Of course, there's a little bit of that sort of above nerves and hits and misses every now and then. But of course, Terizla is still very reliable coming into those team fights, and that huge element in between, that's going to be something that is game-changing.
Yeah, it's not a bloody hunt, it's not an iron horse, but I think, you know, if you need a Grok of some sort, Terizla kind of fits that role. However, I mean, he's easy to play around, and that's why a lot of teams tend to avoid him. But Valir, as well as the Ludox being picked, again, three really, really strong picks coming in from Axis Esports that kind of secure their team composition. That, yeah, they do want to fight, they do want people to engage on them. They're just going to sit back and wait it out.
That's right, and we're seeing some really great drafts coming from the side of Candy Comeback. In a sense, this is like a dream lineup for many, but same goes to Axis Esports, who managed to secure that Valir. We talk about that sort of burst, and combined with Lunox, who's so slippery with that Order of Chaos as well as brilliant. That's definitely going to pack a punch. But looking at the side of Candy Comebacks here, of course, Terizla as well as the Harith will be that sort of core end. We're seeing whether or not can Kufra be playing into its great effect, where we talk about Tyrant's Rage and the bouncing ball being so disruptive, and I think that he definitely will be able to reach great lengths to actually catch out that Valir, but it's about that follow-up that comes right after.
Truly, it really is about the follow-up. Like, he can set it up for like a good 2 to 3 seconds, but after that, if nobody follows up, he's kind of on his own. And coming with the bans, Leomort as well as the Masha, all right, fair enough, it's understandable. Get rid of a super safe pick and get rid of, you know, a split pusher. This might revert Axis to, you know, maybe even picking up a Hayabusa, or maybe a Hayabusa for Candy Comeback if they wanted to.
Definitely a lot of options right outside of their minds for the time being. Of course, a lot of discussions being pulled through, but, you know, not too much of a big fan of that Leomort ban, though. Like, there's still things like Akai, which is also pretty safe, but then again, Leomort skills pretty well, especially if he gets any sort of that lead. But wow, Aldous! Now, they're definitely doubling things up with this sort of pickup here. And, you know, let's talk about Aldous for a little bit. There's also the special skin for M1 as well for Aldous, so maybe he might want to bring that up in a bit. But then again, Aldous takes a lot of time to actually skill into getting that sort of assassin pick. And I think that the reason why they go for this is to also lock against Bruno or even that Valir that we just talked about.
Yeah, I think it's one way to deal with him. I don't think it's the best way, because Valir, he does have 2 charges, and he has to be very, very careful towards the mid game when, you know, Aldous starts really ramping up to that 1k damage, and then once he gets into the later game, that 2k damage, like, you have to be so careful. But Axis Esports, on the other hand, they're locking in the Bruno as well as the Cho, and Cho is going to be most likely their fighter pick this time round. And it's interesting because at least he's going to be he's strong enough to oppress the Aldius. The better question is is Aldius going to have someone to babysit him? Most likely yes, but we're just going to have to wait and see, especially if they lock in that Gushing here from Candy Comeback.
Well, I feel like they're just going in for this really risky composition where they really just want to burst out any sort of targets that they see right in front of them and just fall back. But we see that sort of a movements coming from across the map for Candy Comeback, which I feel like their positioning would be a little bit off. But if they can fix that in this game, then perhaps if they can get a couple more of that sort of great pickoffs, they might be able to get a really huge lead. And looking at that, we're having 2 revitalized for the side of Candy Comebacks. 1 arrival for Rin as well, swaps back in towards the Flicker. And now let's get this show underway.
Yeah, this is going to be... This is going to be an interesting game here because once you have a double mage composition, you're hoping to like really get a huge advantage off of your level 4. And I think that's where the discrepancy is going to come, because everywhere across the map, you're expecting, oh, your tanks take roam items and you're hoping to get to 4 as quickly as possible. And one lane is not going to get that support, so he's going to be, you know, level 3, level 2. You're not going to all hit level 4 at the same time. I think that's where the question of how much gold can you really distribute amongst these 3 very item-hungry heroes?
Yeah, and that's definitely going to be that's a power struggle. Hey, I should take this camp. Hey, I should take this minion farm. And if you were set back by members of Axis, that is going to be a bigger issue. And some of these members will definitely get starved out. Let's begin that. We're going to find out more in the second game of the series, as we'll see Axis Esports trying to snatch up a total of 3 points, or can Candy come back make sure that they get at least 1 more point on the table and hit themselves into game 3.
Yeah, and we can see that the lane assignments are very obvious here. Oh, Lassid already going in for a big chunk out of Norse. He already has to pop the rejuvenation as quickly as possible. Oh, 1 more hit until he goes down, and yes, he does. Evil X, and people tell me, oh, Grok's power of nature. Ooh, it's been nerfed so hard. No, it deals a lot of damage.
Well, it doesn't really matter with the nerf, because that sort of a nerf gave him a little bit of balance with 100 more damage output right out there. It's only about to cool down, so does it even really matter if it's just a couple of seconds left? And now, speaking of Evil X, they're getting Tom stuck by the corners of the wall. And 1 more kill going in the hands of Axis.
Yeah, and Axis, they've got a really early centric composition. Lung, Lassid, both so strong at level 1. Not to mention when you have Scott, Evil X, like, okay, sure, Rin, not the most dominant. It's not like a Lilia, but she can sustain through everything. Lunok's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, and then she could just freely roam, and look at that redemption code right up there. Of course, juicy as it gets, and we're seeing 1 tower for the side of Axis Esports. But looking at Toms, he's trying to stop this, but this is way too much for him to handle.
Yeah, it's just so much pressure, so much early game damage from the side of Axis Esports. They're just not letting them play the game, and Candy Comeback, they're like, okay, we need to make something happen. They quickly steal the buff from Axis Esports' side, and I think he just got spotted out there by the Cho. They know that he's in the top side. If they force a fight, they might actually win this, but it looks like they're just going to completely avoid it.
Yes, indeed. And we're seeing Axis Esports first getting this sort of a huge 3-kill lead, but from the side of CC, they're already locking their eyes upon that turtle, and could they possibly even steal this on the way coming in? Oh my goodness me! Now they're committing to this fight.
Yep, and they want to keep on going. The rejuvenation already popped. Rin trying to make it happen. The Chaos Assault, but again, Terizla is taking quite a bit of damage. The body of the Smith a little too strong. Lassid gets away to the dragon, instantly kills that Gushing, but Terizla takes out Rin.
Now Scott as well as Rin finally received their first step of the game, and now Norse will be caught out as well. That's what will seal the kill, and now it's down to that 1v1 between Toms as well as Lassid. Now, of course, they're both pretty much having pretty great chunks of health left, and there's no point committing towards the Kufar as well. But wow, let's have a look in towards the team fight Bottom River once again, as we see the first couple of kills, of course, headed towards the side of CC. But look at this go. Like, with the dragon, as well as the Grok just running at you with the wall charge. There's no escape whatsoever. Yeah, and Axis was doing great.
And just look here, the lower you get to Rizla, if he lands that revenge strike, it's going to deal so much more because it does missing percent health damage. So he's basically going to execute you in a sense. He just walks away, lets the Grok die, trades the kills over. Terizla is doing so good so far, but is that going to be enough for Candy Comeback to really gain a lead here?
Well, I feel like at least he's doing his best, but if it's enough, I would say that it's not really sufficient for the time being, because there's only a couple of that sort of small leads for them. While we're looking at the gold graph, it's already telling us that Axis Esports, they're already snowballing and getting their first items up. And Norse, of course, you speak of the Trizla and Evil X, just showing off for a little bit, as long as well as lasted, tries to finish out the kill, and yep, they're just getting caught around.
Yeah, I don't think Norse, even though he should be clearing waves, he shouldn't be doing something so reckless like this. He could have easily walked back to his turn, but I think he tried to cut the wave a little too greedily, and now is going to get punished. Bouncing ball. Conan is actually going to be able to walk away, but again, ooh, the bouncing ball isn't going to be enough to protect him. Bister taking quite a bit of damage. Lasted needs one more hit. He needs one more hit, but Bister, he's going to get his ability back up. Oh, misses the sword spike.
Well, I felt like the Gushon definitely would be able to turn it around, but Mr. tries not to risk it. And if he ever falls back to his turret range, there's also Evil X right across. But Axis Esports putting their forces into its mid lane, trying to break it all the way open. So all the tier 1s are already off the table, and Axis Esports here looking for that turtle. And in the span of less than 5 minutes, we're seeing Axis ramp things up, and they're getting that 5,000 gold lead right after securing the turtle.
Yeah, I mean, Axis Esports is running one as a 4-1 kill comp. Norse is in trouble, gets locked down by the wild charge, but he's trying to make it out. Rejuvenation isn't going to be enough. Tobbs is going to be the next one going down. He's trying to heal back up. He pops his own rejuvenation. Isn't going to be enough. He's able to make it. Bistler gets the back line. He kills the Valir already with an instant 1-2 punch. Shadow Blade Slaughter into combo. Oh, ton MVP. One more hit. He survives a little bit more. Bistler's taking a lot of damage from the darkening, but it's not going to be enough. Tobbs bouncing ball allows to pick up the block. Quickly cleans it all up, and a nice team wipe there.
Oh my, that definitely was a team wipe, but of course Norse spawns up a little bit later. Now let's have a look at our U-Mobile replay here, as we see all these members of CC, they were just dancing around the tower, and even though they have the chance to run away, they opt not to do so. They recommitted to the fight, so this one's definitely on them, where we felt like, you know, like they were already running towards the lower side, and Bister, from that perfect health, he just falls flat. And that's the power of the Lunox when you give Rid 5 kills in the back. Yeah, and once he gets it, ooh, penalty zone already used on the Norse. Oh, big catch here! Great time and straight into penalty zone! This is huge! They try to turn this around, but they don't have enough damage. Oh my goodness, this would have been different. Oh, here he comes. Conan's trying to make it through. Aldius, he tries to bomb. He pops his shield. Is he going to get that last hit? No, he does not. Does not have vision. Goes down instantaneously and disrupted. Time and time again, another team wipe going in from Axis. Great engage coming from Candy Comeback, but the lead is just too large. There's too much of a gold gap onto Axis Esports, and there's so many items, their stats, it's just too much. Unnecessary fights after another, and this is definitely a full commitment, and CC slowly falling off. And I felt like even for them to actually commit to Rin was definitely a mistake, because she still had the Order of Brilliance up, so easily she could just pop it and make sure that she's well and safe, and now Lung will be able to secure that third turtle of the game. Axis Esports now having too huge of a lead, and I don't think that they'll be throwing this game anytime soon. I would tend to disagree. I think that was like a really good engagement. They had all the abilities land on the right targets. They just didn't have the items or the damage to kind of follow up. Maybe if they did this when the gold was a little bit even, it would have been better. Oh no. That's a little bit hard to watch, of course, and we're already seeing the penalty zone being used up from the side of members of Candy Comeback, and now Axis Esports will be breaking the doors wide open once again over the mid lane, but it still stands for the time being. Monster kill for the Bruno. Banton MVP will fall for that double in the hands of Lung. And now one more Way of the Dragon over onto Norse, and this will be legendary for Rin as they break down the bomb side. And yep, back to that sort of fight. It was beautiful, but they did not have all these members to actually follow up. And speaking of that, that's almost a great tyrant's rage to push them all the way back. But Axis Esports were too tough to bring down. And Conan is running for his life, is trying to escape. Only one tick of health left, and he does walk it out alive, but not so fortunate for the Gushon as Axis Esports tries to close things off with a bang, and Axis Esports will secure a total of 3 points by the end of day 2.
Yep, strong dominant game coming in for Axis Esports, showing that they are a class above Candy comeback here. But again, these guys, really positive mentals all around. They are having fun. They knew it was a defeated game, but still they are keeping themselves positive. Very respectable.
Yeah, very respectable indeed. And not many teams will be able to pull off such a risky composition as well. And at one point, it does look like it was coming into effect because we talked about that struggle of farming. Of course, Axis brought them 3-0, but they were still trying to look for those sort of opportunities and creating them towards the bottom side. But it was way too hard as Lung was the one emerging on top alongside with Rin. And these dynamic duos here walked off with one of the most kills as well as damage of the game here, with Lung having that 10.7 KDA.
Yeah, I mean, overall, just a huge lead being given over. That early game from Axis was so powerful, and I think if CC kind of held their ground a little bit more, kind of focused on clearing the waves, making sure they want to kind of hit level 4 before they start these bigger fights, I think that should have been the option, but it was just a little too difficult. Let's look at the highlights and recap the game.